Hello everyone, Pulse here and welcome to another episode of Delving Deep ESO. Now in this episode we're going to talk about something that I feel is pretty exciting for a lot of people, and that is the prospect of being a werewolf in Elder Scrolls Online. Now I know a lot of people have been looking forward to some lycanthropy discussion, so let's get right into it, shall we? Let's dissect this subject matter. How does one become a werewolf to start? What must occur so that you can then turn into this primal beast, this bloodthirsty monster that uses teeth and claws to rip his prey apart? Well, from what I can tell, because sadly I was unable to become afflicted during my own play experience, so I had to do a little bit of digging on this one. But essentially what's going to occur is you're going to be out in the world doing your quests, doing your adventures, all that good stuff that you'd expect to do, and there's going to be a certain time, a certain place that a quest chain is going to become available, and if you decide to follow that story, you will then be rewarded at the very end of it as a werewolf. You'll be turned into a werewolf at a werewolf ritual site, a very specific place in the world. Now if you decide to forgo the questing and the story, there is another way to become a werewolf, so don't worry. You can be infected by other players, but we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into the skills, because it is part of their skill line. Now, I am quite impressed with the implementation here, to be honest with you. I quite like the way that they've done the vampirism and the lycanthropy. Both of them really well done, and they both do justice to the way it was done in prior test titles. I like the way that it's RNG driven vampirism on one side, and then this story quest driven style for the lycans, for the werewolves. Very cool, and they may have convinced me to try werewolves as well. Really cool. Now there are a couple important things that I want to go over before we dissect these skills. The first of which is that transforming into a werewolf requires the ultimate skill slot, and to actually utilize the skill line that comes along with it, you need to be in werewolf form for 90% of it. There is one passive, I believe, that requires you to be in humanoid form, but you also have the ultimate skill slotted in order to get any of the bonuses from it. So in short, if you're wanting to be a werewolf, it's something that you need to be committed to doing, which I feel is the proper way to do it. It shouldn't just be something that everyone can go get and have as a bonus. It needs to be something that has both ups and downs. So I'm really cool with this, actually. It feels more immersive, more believable. The second important thing to take away from this is being a werewolf is incredibly stamina intensive, to the point that I'm 99% positive that there's going to be some specific build choices required in order to get the most out of the vicious, fury-driven style of play that comes along with being a werewolf. But we'll kind of see what that's about when we get into the skills. You'll see pretty clearly what it means to be a werewolf in just a minute. The final important thing to take away as well is that there are some disadvantages. The first of which is obviously you lost the ultimate skill ability. You're going to lose your weapon skills when in your natural fighting stance as a werewolf. You don't need weapons when you're using claws and teeth. But more importantly, you're going to take 50% more damage from all poison effects, even when in human form. And then all of the players out there in Cyrodiil which have utilized Fighters Guild skill line are going to have an advantage against you, especially if they've decided to pick skills which deliberately target werewolves. So do watch out for those kinds of players. But let's get into the skills. The first active is obviously that ultimate skill we've been talking about. This is going to be the ability to turn into the werewolf. It's going to cause nearby enemies to run in fear when it's cast. When you are in werewolf form, you're going to get a substantial increase to stamina, armor, and run speed. And the big thing to take away from this, and the reason I was saying it's very stamina intensive, is that it's going to have very high stamina costs on your abilities, as well as the fact that all of your attack damage is derived from your maximum stamina. So that's something to really consider when building your character. Now, werewolf transformation can be morphed either into pack leader, which is going to cause allies nearby to gain ultimate at an 8% faster rate, or it can be turned into werewolf berserker, which causes your light attacks to cause bleeding and improve your attack speed. Now, that second one instantly made me think of Warwick from League of Legends. It's just this bloodthirsty kind of thing. It seems really cool. I really like that a lot. Now the first active outside of the ultimate is Pounce, which is going to leap at your target as you would expect. It's going to stun them for a second. Or it can be morphed into a Brutal Pounce, which is going to do the same thing but in a slight AoE, or it can be turned into Feral Pounce, which is going to add some extra time to your werewolf timer. As far as I'm concerned, that Feral Pounce is way more enticing, but I'm sure the extra, I would assume AoE CC from Brutal Pounce will come into play for specific situations. So there is some give and take there, but I prefer Feral Pounce for sure. Now, the second active is Roar. This is going to unleash a beastly roar, as you would expect, affecting up to 3 enemies within a short distance away from you with Fear, Disorient, and Unbalance. Now, this can be morphed into Ferocious Roar. When you kill an enemy in this state, be it Fear, Disorient, or Unbalance, it's also going to make the nearby enemy allies unbalanced and disoriented as well. Now, the second morph is Rousing Roar. This is going to add some weapon power for all nearby allies for each nearby target affected for 10 seconds. Now, this, to me, it's like a very cool support ability where you're running in, you're disorienting and you're killing, and you and your partners are all just getting pumped from the battle. So, a really, really cool ability in that regard. Now, the passives start with Pursuit, which is going to increase your stamina by a pretty healthy amount while in werewolf form. You've got Blood Rage, which is going to generate ultimate by taking damage. So you're going to get your ultimate back fairly quickly, but obviously this is going to require you to be in humanoid form. And as I was saying earlier, this is the one that requires Werewolf Transformation to be slotted as your ultimate skill. If you don't have it there, you're not getting nothing from this. Now, the next passive is Devour, which actually lets you eat humanoid corpses to earn more time for your werewolf form. Really, really cool. I like that a lot. It adds more to this idea that you're this bloodthirsty monster just on a rampage, and you will do anything to keep that rage and that fuel burning so you can keep on fighting. Now, the next skill is Blood Moon. On a full moon, return to the werewolf ritual site and turn another player into a werewolf. Turn players earn the werewolf skill line, and they cannot be affected if they are a vampire. This is really, really cool. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by on a full moon or even where the werewolf ritual site is, but this is a really cool way to make the infection, like the spread of the werewolf infection, seem like it fits in the world. I'm really, really happy with the way that they did that. And it really does. It fits really, really well. And the way that they did vampires fit really well. So this is just a very, very nice, and again, it really does justice to the world that they've created in ESO and prior test games. Now, the next passive is Savage Strength. Each kill that you have in werewolf form, up to 5 kills, this is going to like stack up to 5 times, and it's going to increase your maximum stamina by about 5% per kill. So you'll have 25% maximum stamina increase if you've ranked this up to its maximum potential and gained 5 stacks. So that's pretty substantial, I have to say. And then finally we have Call of the Pack. Causes allies to stay transformed for 5% longer, and it affects up to 5 targets in a 15-meter radius and stacks up to 5 times. So you can use this as a way to keep other werewolves, all of your buddies, your compadres out on the field of battle, to stay in their werewolf form more. And as you probably notice going through the skills, if you build yourself right, there's this idea that you can be like a pack leader on the ultimate, for example, and you have this group of werewolves just running around rampaging and feeding off one another's skills by having it so that you get like the disorients and when you get the kills and the eating of the things and all that stuff. It's really, really cool. I like the way that there's some nice gel, and there's some nice what's the word I'm looking for? Some nice camaraderie that comes around with being a werewolf if you really wanted it to be. But that's pretty much it. That is the full toolbox for being a werewolf in Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I'm not a massive fan of being a werewolf. I'm not a real fan of like turning into the beast, I guess, in the lore, at least for Elder Scrolls Online. I've just never really found it appealing. But the idea of turning into this really powerful, this immensely powerful werewolf form and just going about killing and killing and killing some more, the more blood there is, the better it is, and you just go on this intense rampage of killing everything in your path until your form just can't hold up anymore, until your stamina literally has been drained. And that is just a cool idea, to the point that I'm definitely gonna have to give it a try for sure. And I really like the idea of the pack running around. I definitely see people getting together and running around as a werewolf pack and just doing their best to wreak havoc in Cyrodiil, or even just trying to do some group content out in the world. And I definitely see some really high RP potential. The first thing that came to mind was that there's going to be some RP groups out there that are going to plan on having like initiations for new werewolf recruits on the full moon to get new players both infected with the werewolf thing, but also add to their like guild story, that kind of thing. And it seems really, really cool, and I'm very satisfied with the idea and the overall implementation of Lycanthropy in ESO. It really fits incredibly well with the prior test games, and it fits in with what they've made in terms of an MMO. So it's really, really cool. I'm very, very happy with what they've done here, and I'm glad to see that ZeniMax stayed true to what they said and what they promised, because they had already given us like a slight preview and shown off their philosophies and their design goals for werewolves, and this hits it right on the head. So they did a fantastic job. So big thumbs up to them. Definite props for that. But that's going to wrap it up for me on this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, make sure to leave a comment down below on the subject discussed or anything you really want to. So let me know down below if you want to be a furry monster in ESO and rip some heads off, and then run around Cyrodiil and beat some people up and fight off the vampires and the fighters guilds. Do you want to be one of these crazy beasts? I'm pretty intrigued myself. I might not do it. I might do it. I don't know. Maybe you guys can make some points down in the comments to convince me to go full furry, but you'll have to let me know in the comments. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends if you enjoyed the video. All the support is seriously appreciated. I think that's it. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.